David, hello. Happy Tuesday. How are you, my friend?
Oh, doing great, Sanjay. Certainly, as we know, in the security world, it's always exciting. So every day is a great day.
I'm in Fort Lauderdale today. It's nice and hot. How about yourself?
On Seattle, so today is kind of the traditional, got a little drizzly, can't see the sun, so we're kind of used to it.
Okay, I won't talk more about the weather. Tell me more about your journey at Atlassian. When did you join?
Yeah, it's been about 18 months now. Pretty exciting, right? I've been at the big guys. There's certainly, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and certainly been very exciting and really kind of taking, the cloud security to the next level as we kind of expand right into the new world here.
And how is that changing and transforming in this age of AI that we're in? I'm shocked at the quality of some of the scams that I see, like, Department of Motor Vehicle stuff. I'll get a link and go to their website. Aside from me recognizing that that domain isn't quite right, sometimes like the L and the I are done in such a way where you can't even look at it and tell. Other than things like that, it's you're building full blown fake websites that represent things people usually have to respond to. That's what I'm seeing. What are you seeing out there?
Well, certainly the world's changed, right? Certainly, just like we had internet and mobile phones and things kind of changed, kind of slowly but surely, and certainly the cloud. But now AI is everything's changing every single day. But that's really there's the risks, right, and some of the attacks and other type of things. But also we have AI right at our fingertips, right, to help us in the defense, detection, alerting, and that's kind of the exciting thing, right, to a degree, right? We have the same tools and we can defend just as much as we're being attacked.
What are the types of things that you're having to defend against, like lately with the latest, everything's moving kind of toward some of these newer AI models, Manus and Cloud and things like that. What are you seeing today that as a common attack?
Certainly, I think the one that most people have seen here is really as like the kind of the targeted and spear phishing, right? Where AI is being used by attackers to really do a lot of research, right? And getting people to have enough context and saying, oh, wow, I'm going to look at this or I'm going to forward it to somebody because they've got so much information there. So that's one of the most common. Certainly, we know the world here of, mythos and other things coming, right? We may see more attacks here. They're being chained together. We haven't really seen that in practice yet, but we're all being aware of it and getting ready for it.
Are you at all worried about quantum computing and what its ramifications will be?
Certainly, if I go back quite a few years here, is let's go the Suite B was at this, 10 plus 15 years ago, right here, and I was working at Microsoft. Is it's an algorithm change to a degree, right? And then the reality is, I think for many organizations, right, is that are they really attack, right, for the nation state attackers and things that really want to go after the data? So that's not the primary, target, right? It's maybe the larger companies that really have data that's so sensitive and in desire, right, is that's important. But it's not rocket science anymore. It's like, hey, we're changing the algorithm in our X59 certificates. So I don't think it's as hard as we've seen in the past.
So a quantum computer would be very expensive. If you had one that worked, you wouldn't be scamming people for a $20 parking ticket. You would choose very valuable targets. And so that's what does the quantum computer cost these days? I think there were a few that were, you could just buy, but those are still multi-million dollar investments, right?
Yeah, I think it's still very, very high. The one good thing is our asymmetric encryption, right? AES 256, it's fine, right? That's not the big change. And so where things are stored, there we don't have concerns of that, so far. But I think overall, I think the biggest concern for people is organizations, is let's say banks, hey, they start actually updating the certificates to use elliptic curve, the latest elliptic curves, and oh, your local machine is not cannot support that yet. Then you get the disconnect and mismatch, sometimes. I think that's the biggest risk that we see for everyday users.
Tell me more about yourself and also why you joined Atlassian.
Well, it's certainly it's pretty very exciting. Certainly, I have to admit, is like it's just the beginning of the AI wave, and certainly us with Atlassian and Rovo. So if I go 18 months ago, it was amazing that we use Jira and Confluence for everything. And so for Rovo, I can say, how many laptops do we have? What are we using for our standard? What's the policy? What's your performance? Wow, in minutes, I could find these answers as the CISO. Now let's go 18 months later. Now with our teamwork graph, is I can ask all these questions of like the correlation of what's been deployed, what has been the various vulnerabilities, what are we status patching, all within I don't say seconds, but within just a couple of minutes. It's unbelievable what I can do now, and all of us in our roles. Atlassian being part of, we're not just taking advantage of AI, we are building it with Rovo and Teamwork Graph. That's what's really, really exciting.
Yeah, we're customers as well. So we love Loom. We use, I've used Jira in the past, but we use Trello and have to look at some of these other things. So you're seeing Rovo is the big growth engine now.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Certain the number of users and things that we announce in our earnings and other things, it's unbelievable. Self, I honestly is I don't think I could live without it, right? I honestly I don't know how people can not use it.
I envision a future where, the primary interface probably becomes smart glasses with a small display on them. And whether it's through MCP servers or APIs or whatever the technology is, we stop having user interfaces. The challenge to me with user interfaces is that there's just so many of them. And so I know how to go to admin and add a user, but the problem is it's different in the 1,000 apps I've ever used, right? So it's different enough that there's a mental coherence problem with it that like I know how to do it. It's kind of, it's kind of like one of these studies where, men and women's brains work differently. Like where men look, like if you open the fridge, you're looking for something. And this happened to me the other day, is I will look where I think it's supposed to be. And if it's not there, I can't even see it sometimes if I'm in a hurry. And so, I think I have that same coherence issue with software now where like, I run teams at different companies. And so I often I'm the one managing the security as an admin. And so to go find that and do it, it's sort of like I know where it's supposed to be and I can't find it because it's not there. That's I think a big problem with SaaS today because it's been so successful. We have this coherence. I mean, do you agree with that? And two, do you think, as I do, that everything will become a conversational experience where the homepage of the app just has a answer engine and you can just say, hey, I need to add a user, and then it just takes me there, or just ask me, okay, what's their name and email, and it just happens. Like, do you think that's going to happen slowly, quickly, or we're still going to have SaaS interfaces for the long term?
I think it's a great question. Certainly, as any given company probably could maybe a large organization or enterprise may have hundreds of SaaS apps. Where do you go? What do you do? Well, I think again, this is where AI comes into play. And certainly let's think of it in our world where it's like, hey, is this in Trello or is this Confluence? Is this in Jira? Right. And this is in Loom.
Yeah.
What do I use? So here, that's why we have the teamwork graph is like, I don't need to find it. Rovo will tell me because it has all those connections. And I think that's the world we're going to see from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint and things. We're going to see all those connections and kind of that context put together. So I don't have to. And likewise, I think as you don't have to make the mistake, right? Saying what's the right source, right? What's the authority? What's the in the most up to date? And that's what it's all about. So I think life's getting easier. And in some ways, I think we're going to get spoiled really quickly.
Yeah, and I see for Rovo, you do have this kind of interface that I'm talking about here. If somebody wants to work with Atlassian, kind of give Rovo a try, what's the best way to do that? Just go on the website and click Try Rovo.
Absolutely, that's correct, right? So we have the free the trials and things like that for people can try it to get it ready, things like that. And it's amazing. I think people that are using the on-premise versions of things go to the cloud and try this out. I think you will get addicted very quickly because I know I can't live without it.
Well, I may try this later today. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ajay. It's been great to talk, right? Make the connections and helping spreading the word about the value of AI in both our personal and our professional lives.
Run your day with Runday.ai.